What's up guys and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at the IEM Melbourne 2025 group stage. This is how I did in the European Major Qualifier. Some disappointments, really especially I would say Gamer Legion is the biggest disappointment. I didn't expect that much from Glaive and he had at least some maps where he did well. So I can't be too disappointed here. Sunpayus of course doing pretty well. Youngstar I think I would have hoped for more, let's put it that way. But yeah, the biggest disappointment definitely being PR and then Slend as well. Gamer Legion not making the major was a big surprise to me. So in that case, or in that sense, top 39% isn't even the worst thing that could have happened. But yeah, let's go on. Also, look at this booster, -9 from boosters. Did I my chicken out? I didn't even realize this. -24 from Glaive in out. Yeah, maybe that was the wrong time to use it, but damn, that is harsh. Yeah, for Melbourne, actually is a pretty stacked event. I didn't realize that we would have this stacked of an event right now. But that's pretty cool. I think a lot of teams will actually be looking to do quite well here. What do we have? We have Mouse and Big, and this is, I'll go quarter by quarter if you don't know how fantasy works. These two groups, you're gonna want to pick the best team in each group essentially, and then a fifth player from the other side of one of these brackets. I would say Mouse dominates on this side of the bracket. Big is not looking good. 3D Max is kind of looking Gamer Legion not making the major. I think Mouse is the obvious favorite on this side of the bracket. Here, it's a bit tighter. I think Mongols haven't looked their best, whereas Complexity just made playoffs. I still would favor Mongols, but it's a bit tighter than I would have expected. Maybe a couple of weeks ago. Then we have FaZe and Pain. I would favor FaZe for sure. They just have too much firepower mostly, but I wouldn't be that surprised with a Pain upset. Either way, these four teams, not that high on any of them. Maybe Mongols if I want to go for a fifth. Group B, obviously Vitality favored here. They get one of the easiest matchups early on against FlyQuest. Although FlyQuest have looked pretty good since benching Dexter and bringing in, I think it's Nitik. And then Liquid VP could go either way. It just depends on, it's so weird how badly Liquid did with Shuhei. I think they might just be a dysfunctional organization nowadays. I have no expectations for them. And then VP is so hit or miss. But either way, Vitality dominates this group. This group of four teams, and they are on a really long roll right now. They are the best team in the world currently. And the lower side, Falcons saw Navi MIBR is kind of interesting because I think Falcons and Navi should be heavy favorites. We're gonna have Falcons debuting with Monacy. I think that team is it has to be good. Just the names on the paper are so good. Nico and Monesi reunited. Magisk has been okay. Hesses is actually fragging. And Kixan is a very decent IGL. That team should on paper do so well. If I were to go for a gambly lineup here, I would probably go for Falcons. But then Navi is I think it's just a matter of time until Navi get their shit together. Or they have to make some changes. It's hard to say. If it's Falcons Navi in the upper semis, it's a pretty 50-50 matchup. Either way, I think the winner of that will probably lose to Vitality in the finals. But who knows? Upsets are always possible. Here's the most picked players. Brolan most picked, not surprised at all. 189 or 88 for Brolan. Yeah, he's IGLing nowadays and not fragging as much, but he's still 10k less than Apex. I just personally think Brolan is a pretty easy pick here. Even if you don't go double Mouse, I think Brolan as a fifth is pretty decent because these teams, Mouse should do well against almost every time. So yeah, Brolan is kind of locked into my team. I personally do want to go double mouse. If I were to go for the what I think is like the cookie cutter best lineup, I think it would be mouse with Roland and Jimmy, then Apex, Rops from Vitality, and then Techno from the Mongols. Like if I were to go for a standard lineup, if it was the beginning of the season, I just want to make points, I would pick this lineup. Even with Jimmy kind of hitting a downswing, I still think he's worth it, especially when it allows for this kind of structure. You could also probably go for like Flamesy, Spinks, and then Techno. Nothing wrong with this. Spinks has been looking better than Jimmy lately, and Flamesy is definitely capable of outperforming Rops. But I personally would go for the Jimmy and Rops lineup because Rops is so consistent nowadays. But actually what I want to look at today is a lineup with Mouse and Falcons. I think I want to gamble on the Falcons this time around, just because there's a pretty good likelihood of hitting a honeymoon with Monesi coming in. I think the vibes are going to be pretty high in that team for once. They should dominate Saw. I think they have a decent shot against Na'Vi. It's a pretty 50-50 matchup. And it's going to be hard for me as a Na'Vi fan to kind of root for Na'Vi and then fantasy-wise rooting for Falcons. But yeah, I think it makes sense as a gamble here. Also money-wise, like the players on Na'Vi versus the players on Falcons, I think I want to go for Falcons players. And then probably a fifth from Vitality. But we'll see about that one as well. I'll start out with Roland and Jimmy from Mouse. I think Tesses might be my favorite option from Falcons, like Tesses and someone else. I don't know if I want to go for Kixon, if I can go for Tesses. And then like Nico Monesi. I think Nico. But then we don't have the cash for an Apex. So this is where it becomes interesting. I don't really want to go for any of these super cheap players. Like Alexi, I don't really want to go for Alexi either if I go Falcons. Ixon does make sense, but then I would go for like Eco Kixon, I guess. Nothing wrong with that either. Can you get Spinks and Apex then? I think you can. Apex makes a lot of sense. Like Apex is fragging lately. Yeah, like this for an IGL is crazy good. This is honestly a pretty good looking lineup. But I do want Tesses. He's been looking so crisp. I don't feel like he's gonna be negatively impacted by the Monesi edition either. It could be Monesi and Tesses. Then we need to... Then we can't almost... Then we'd have to go... Oh, Carrigan isn't even inexpensive enough. To go for Shuhei? Oh, I'm not going Shuhei, I don't think. I mean, I could go Shuhei. What are the odds that Shuhei, even if he's bad this event, what are the odds that he's this bad? Basically, his rating is consisting mostly of this event where they did extremely badly. I mean, there's decent enough odds that that's the case. It's weird because Shuhei like used to be a go-to fantasy option on mouse. I'm not really high on anyone here. It could be Shuhei. The thing is, it allows me to go for some really nice picks. I think Monesi could have a really good event here. 225 feels like a pretty fair price. How much negative points am I getting from Shuhei if I pick him? That's the real question. Like, we would be able to play him here. We can always chicken him out against Vitality if they win against VP. What do the odds say? Oh, I had an ad blocker probably, so it doesn't show me odds. I would say it's pretty 50-50. Probably slightly favored for VP, but not by much. I'll go for the risk with Shuhei. I wanted to go for a risk anyways, and I'm going for Falcons, right? That's pretty risky on its own. But I think this is probably a risk worth taking in this case. It lets me go for Monesi and Tessus from Falcons, and I think I want to gamble on Falcons doing well here, alongside Mouse. Yeah. I'm going with this. It's a riskier lineup that I would... Like, if you are battling for, like, a top spot in the Fantasy League, I wouldn't go for this. Honestly, like, this is a risky lineup. I would go for what I showed earlier with double Mouse, double Vitality, and Techno 4K. But for me, I think in this case, it makes sense to go for something a little bit riskier. Probably headshots on Tessus, 52-44. I'm just gonna make sure there's nothing better, but I would be surprised if there is. Yeah, he's a very crisp player. Shuhei, gonna be odd. What to even do with him? Could go noob with Shuhei. I think you can actually go noob here. Morrissey can take care of like either AWP or multi. Probably multi, to be honest. Yeah, he's just sick enough to go for that. Jimmy, probably decent on the support. What about Roland? Does he like eco-friendly? Does. So Jimmy, how much do we like support on Jimmy? Probably quite a lot. Yeah, so it's support on Jimmy and then Roland with eco-friendly. That's a decent set of roles as well, I think, for this team. And then, yeah, we just go for these here. Sure. This is the Pistol King. Just go for good roll, good boosters. I'm pretty sure it's best of 3s at the start, right? Yeah. Do that. Clutch from Shuhei, sure. Ace from Jimmy. What do we want for Jimmy? Jimmy's gonna be a bit harder to pick for. It could be KAST. Yeah, let's do KAST and wanna see on like carry. KAST here. Actually not carry, but probably top of scorecard. And then carry like against a slightly harder opponent. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this lineup. It's been a hard season. And honestly, for the rest of it, I'm probably gonna go for some riskier lineups. So yeah, I'm happy with this. If you enjoy this kind of content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.